early July 2026, a highly significant incident unfolded in the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most strategic maritime choke points. Immediately after the presidents of Iran and the United States signed a memorandum of understanding, many believed tensions had subsided. Yet, contrary to those expectations, the United States resumed its military aggression against Iranian territory, and the two countries once again found themselves in a period of intense confrontation in the narrow waterway. This raises an important question. Why? Why did US military aggression resume when many believed the conflict had been contained? What happened behind the scenes? Well, to answer these questions, we need to look at the text of the agreement itself. According to Article 5 of this Memorandum of Understanding, Iran will make arrangements with its utmost effort for the safe passage of commercial vessels from the Persian Gulf to the Sea of Oman and vice versa. This means the United States' recognition of Iran's legal right to manage the Strait of Hormuz. But what did the United States do? In practice, Washington violated this text and Iran's sovereign right over the strait. Instead, the United States devised a plan to undermine Iran's control over the principal shipping lanes. Its strategy was to quietly redirect commercial vessels towards an alternative route along the southern edge of the strait, running adjacent to Oman's territorial waters, a route that became known in the media as the Omani Corridor. This constituted a clear and explicit violation of the Memorandum of Understanding. At that point, Iran did precisely what it regarded as necessary to safeguard the security of this vital maritime choke point. It intervened and once again closed the strait.
Attention all vessels, attention all vessels, attention all vessels in Persian Gulf and Oman Sea.
However, if we step back and examine the historical record, it becomes evident that this was far from an isolated incident. Rather, it fits a long-established pattern of American behavior. In a message issued on July 18th, the leader of the Islamic Revolution, Imam Sayyid Mujtaba Khamenei, referred to this pattern, stating, "The repeated breaches of the agreement by the Great Satan, the US, regarding the Memorandum of Understanding signed by the presidents of Iran and the United States have once again laid bare a fundamental truth. The signature of the US president is utterly worthless and devoid of credibility. It further reaffirms that coercion, totalitarianism, and brutality are inseparable components of the US creed and doctrine. Today, the Great Satan has once again revealed its true, unmasked face, so that this dark episode of criminality and broken promises serves as yet another indisputable testament to the US's deceitfulness, irrationality, unreliability, and malicious nature. History provides numerous examples of Washington breaking its commitments. The first example is Iran itself. After nearly 2 years of intensive negotiations, Iran and the P5+1 reached the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, the JCPOA, in 2015.
Today, the United States, together with our allies and partners, has reached a historic understanding with Iran, which, if fully implemented, will prevent it from obtaining a nuclear weapon.
Tehran accepted unprecedented restrictions on its nuclear program in exchange for sanctions relief. Between 2016 and 2018, the International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA, repeatedly confirmed Iran's full compliance with the agreement. Yet, in May 2018, the Trump administration unilaterally withdrew from the deal and reimposed sweeping sanctions.
I am announcing today that the United States will withdraw from the Iran nuclear deal.
But the pattern of breaking commitments doesn't stop with West Asia. Let's look at global security. Take the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty, or the INF. Signed during the Cold War, the INF was merely a calculated instrument to contain its geopolitical rivals and maintain its own military hegemony. And the moment this treaty no longer served America's imperial agenda, It simply walked away in 2019.
The United States will therefore suspend its obligations under the INF Treaty effective February 2nd. We will provide Russia and the other treaty parties with formal notice that the United States is withdrawing from the INF Treaty effective in 6 months, pursuant to Article 15 of the treaty.
Tearing up an agreement it had only ever respected when it was convenient for its own dominance. Also in 2018, the US pulled out of the UN Human Rights Council. This was while the US actually played a central role in establishing this very organization.
We do support the rights of all people to have freedoms bestowed on them by their Creator. That is why we are withdrawing from the UN Human Rights Council, an organization that is not worthy of its name. Thank you.
So why did it leave? Because the Council had been investigating, documenting, and condemning the systemic human rights abuses and crimes committed by the Zionist regime against Palestinians.
The Human Rights Council passed 5 resolutions against Israel.
Instead of upholding international law and allowing these war crimes to be scrutinized, Washington chose to shield its proxy and provide political cover for those ongoing crimes. And if you think this unreliability is limited to war and human rights, look at how Washington treats the very survival of the planet, the Paris Climate Agreement. The US played a major role in shaping this agreement in 2016, dictating terms to the rest of the world and acting like the global savior. But just a year later, in 2017, the Trump administration announced it was pulling out, openly prioritizing corporate profits over global climate security.
This includes ending the implementation of the nationally determined contribution and, very importantly, the Green Climate Fund, which is costing the United States a vast fortune.
In 2021, the Biden administration rejoined the agreement, but failed to fundamentally alter the underlying US approach to climate policy. But fast forward to 2025, with the return of the Trump administration, the withdrawal process is triggered all over again. Another example occurred in Africa, in Libya. In 2003, following extensive negotiations with the United States and the United Kingdom, Libya agreed to dismantle its nuclear, chemical, and missile programs. At the time, Washington presented Libya as a model for the world, arguing that any country willing to relinquish its weapons programs would receive normalized relations and security guarantees. But what happened in 2011?
In just 6 months, the 42-year reign of Muammar Gaddafi has unraveled. Earlier this year, we were inspired by the peaceful protests that broke out across Libya.
During Libya's internal unrest, the United States led NATO's military intervention, which ultimately resulted in Muammar Gaddafi's overthrow and plunged Libya into a prolonged and devastating civil war. A third example is North Korea. In 2018, the historic Singapore summit marked the first ever meeting between a sitting US president and a North Korean leader. President Trump publicly declared that North Korea no longer posed a nuclear threat. Pyongyang expected a phased process in which gradual denuclearization would be matched by the gradual lifting of sanctions. However, at the 2019 Hanoi summit, Washington changed its position, insisting that North Korea first undertake near-complete denuclearization before sanctions relief would even be considered. The negotiations collapsed, and North Korea resumed expanding its nuclear arsenal after concluding that America's diplomatic promises carried little value. When these pieces are assembled, they point to a clear conclusion. The cases discussed here, only a small sample among many, suggest a consistent pattern. The United States cannot be trusted to uphold its commitments. Washington ultimately recognizes only one principle: the law of the jungle, where might makes right. Now, the story of the Islamic Republic of Iran is different. Backed by its people, the Islamic Republic has spent the past 47 years demonstrating that it will not submit to coercion and has repeatedly forced its adversaries to reconsider their calculations. The two recent wars waged against Iran by the United States and the Zionist regime in 2025 and 2026 marked a significant turning point. This time, the United States committed the full weight of its military capabilities and international prestige to the confrontation, yet failed to achieve its objectives. According to this perspective, that outcome reflects the emergence of a new international order, one in which Iran has challenged and overcome the aura of American superpower dominance. This emerging order is not expected to remain confined to the Middle East. Rather, it appears to be spreading throughout the region and beyond. Gradually, the world may be entering an era in which the determination of nations to preserve their independence ultimately prevails over military might.